Hey Algebra 1, so yesterday we did factoring by the Xbox method. Today we are going to do factoring by the grouping method, and this is very, very similar except in the orientation in which it's presented. This is going to be a little bit more linear, written across the page, I guess, rather than in a box form, which is probably helpful as far as computers are concerned, right? Because this would be kind of challenging to do the X box without a box already set up. So this is factoring by grouping, and this is very helpful for later on. Here's the deal. You can pick whichever method speaks to you whenever we do our mixed review here in a minute, or here tomorrow, I guess, the next day. The deal here is that I want you exposed to both methods so that you can make a decision, and whenever you see it again in Algebra 2, then you are familiar with both ways of thinking. So here we go. We're still going to use an X, and by an X, it's more going to be visualized because it's hard to do on there. Or maybe I'll put it on my handy dandy dry erase board. I hope everyone has one of these. They're available at the Dollar Tree for $1 because it's the Dollar Tree. But, if you don't, I guess you got notebook paper. Anyway, so the X, still the same thing with A times C on top. So that is going to be negative 15 and adds up to be negative 2. And so those numbers are then negative 5 plus 3. Okay, so I'm going to set this down here and I'm going to type. And so now instead of putting it in the Punnett square type box, we're just going to write it all out next to each other. And so we're still going to keep our first term, 3y squared, and then minus 5, not x, I'm sorry, 5y, plus 3y, and those came from this right here. So you can see that plus 5y, plus these two middle terms combine to make this middle term. And so this is just rewriting it. It's breaking it down into something that multiplies what we need it to be. Anyway, and then minus 5 at the end. All right, and so then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to group this. So when we group it, it's going to be the first two terms and the last two terms. So 3y squared minus 5y, and then close it, plus group, there we go, 3y minus 5. And it doesn't matter which order you put the 5y or the 3y, whichever spot, it doesn't much matter. But anyway, here we go. So we're going to factor some stuff out. So we're going to factor out 3 and 5. They don't have anything in common, but they do have a y that I can take out. So I'm going to factor out the y and be left with 3y minus 5. And then over here, plus 3y minus 5, they don't have anything in common. And so that's just going to be a 1. And we do want to put the 1 here because I'll show you why here in just a second. Again, 3y minus 5. Here's the trick. Whatever you have left in these parentheses had better be the same. Okay, because now what we're going to do is we're going to see this. Oh, look, you see it twice, you write it once. So see it twice, write it once, and you say 3y minus 5. That is one of our terms. And that scratches this and this. And now whatever's left is your other term. So let me get back to my text. And so what's left is y plus 1. And so that is factoring by grouping. This is very similar to the Xbox method. But it's a little bit more algebraic and a little bit more linear, I guess, in the way that we do the math. So there's that. I don't want to make this a super long video because we just did that for the last 2 days and I don't want to do that again. So we're going to skip over this one right here. And we're going to do example number 3. Example number 3. Oh my goodness, it's got an a cubed. It's got an a in every term. Oh wait, it's got an a in every term. And it's got these huge numbers. Anybody know what 6 times 63 is? Yeah, me neither. But I do know that 3 goes into 3, 12, and 63. So this one has a GCF. Now, the Xbox ones could also, but I just wanted to show this to you here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out a 3A from each one. A 3A. I mean, this doesn't have to be done by grouping. Whatever. We're going to do this anyway. We're going to pull a 3A out of everything. So we're left with a squared plus 4A minus, sorry guys, it's been a long few weeks and I don't have to do this division every single day. So I just want to make sure that I'm not doing anything wrong. Okay, so then what we're going to do is leave the 3A and leave the 3A. Okay. So in our final, or in our breakdown here, we're going to find 2 numbers that multiply to be 20 or negative 21 and add to be positive 4. And so I'm going to say that's going to be 7 minus 3. Sorry, this way. Okay. And so now we're left with, since there's no lead coefficient here, we don't have to use the Xbox method anyway, or the factoring by grouping method. So here it's going to be a plus 7 and a minus 3. And since there's nothing left to do, there's no reason for me to have a third line. There we go. That's my final answer, is the GCF that's factored out and each one of these terms here. Okay, so that being said, we are going to go back and do this example just to show you factor by grouping one more time. And then you have these 3 examples to look at, to work out. And then tomorrow, or I guess on Thursday, we'll have a mixed review of factoring and you can choose whichever method makes you happy. I would like you to try the factor by grouping method because it is important to experiment with different strategies. Okay, so here we go. 6, 71, and 12. I've already checked. 71 is not divisible by 3, which means it's also not divisible by 6. So this is pretty much as we have to factor it. So we're going to go 6 times negative 12, which is 6 feet is 72 inches negative. So what 2 numbers multiply to be negative 72 and add up to be 71? Well, that's easy, isn't it? They're off by 1, so this is going to be 72 times negative 1. So how we set this up again, we leave the first term the way it is. We put in the middle terms. So let's add 72x and subtract 1x and then subtract 12. Yes, it is definitely good that we did this problem because here we've got that whole minus thing, right? Up here it was a plus and I was like, okay, whoop-de-doo. Well, now we have this negative. So just watch. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to group. So 6x squared plus 72x, and close the box here. And then we're going to put a plus, and then we're going to put the negative on that 1x. So whenever we group this again, negative 1x minus 12. Okay, no, that's not what I meant to do. Okay. So the next line, let's factor out the greatest common factor. The biggest thing that goes into 6 and 72 is going to be a 6 and then the x, because they both have at least one x on their terms. And when we factor that out, we are left with x squared plus 12. That's not right, just x plus 12. Sorry, guys. All right, and then plus, well, we're going to be factoring out a negative. When this first term in the group is negative, we're going to factor the negative out with it. So we're going to actually factor out a -1, so a -1. Okay, and then that's going to leave us with a positive x plus 12. Remember what I said, these two little parenthesis things, they need to be the same, because if you see it twice, you could say, that's one of my terms, one of my factors, yay! So x plus 12, see it twice, write it once. And then we're going to scratch it, because we can. This is where I like, the paper or the whiteboard that we get to use, because you physically get to scratch these things off and see what's left. And so what's left is 6x minus 1. 6x minus 1. Ta-da, the end. Okay? All right. So that is factor by grouping. And let's see. Pretty sure 23 is prime. Yeah, I don't think that these down here are going to have a GCF. Let me double check and make sure, but I don't think 40 is divisible by 3. Yeah, didn't think so. And down here, 23 is not even, that's the only thing that would go, and 13 is prime too. So there is no GCF that you have to deal with, but you do need to try these with the factoring by grouping. If you have any questions, please let me know. Then I need you to respond in the group question, or in the class question, which method do you prefer, Xbox or factor by grouping, after you have had a chance to practice with the factor by grouping. All right, so that is pretty much all I have. You guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.